Small-town South Carolina does not like to talk about this, but every single year it says goodbye to its most precious resource, its young people, who pack up, chase the bright lights of Charleston, Columbia, and Greenville, and mostly never move back. And today I am counting down the 12 real reasons why, straight from the young people who left. See, here's the strange twist about South Carolina. As a whole, the state is booming. It is actually one of the top destinations in the entire country for young, college-educated people, with the Greenville and Charleston areas ranking among the fastest-growing metros for graduates anywhere in America. But that growth is almost entirely in a handful of cities. Out in the small towns, the PD, the rural lowcountry, the old mill country, the opposite is happening. The young people are draining away, often straight to those same booming South Carolina cities. This is not about bad towns or ungrateful kids. It is about a set of very real, very human pressures that make a 22-year-old feel they have no choice. There is a place with genuinely nothing to do. No movie theater, no nightlife, nothing. There is the moment you realize every friend you grew up with is already gone. There is a town that quietly teaches its smartest kids that the only way to win is to leave. And there is the slow internet that makes building a modern life almost impossible. So let us count them down, and by the end, I will show you why this story might finally be starting to reverse. So hit that subscribe button now, because we are counting all 12 of these down, and you do not want to miss number 1. Let us count it down. Number 12. You need a car for absolutely everything. When you're young and broke, this one hits before any of the others. Here's the reason. In small-town South Carolina, there is essentially no public transportation, no walkable core, no way to get anywhere without a car, which means a young person just starting out has to buy a vehicle, insure it, fuel it, and repair it before they can even get to a job. For someone earning entry-level wages, that's a brutal, unavoidable expense, and it makes a city where you can walk, bike, or catch a bus suddenly look a whole lot more affordable. It's an invisible tax on being young in a rural place. In Charleston or Columbia, you can live without a car and pour that money into rent, savings, or life. Out in the country, the car comes first, always. It seems like a small thing, but for a young person counting every dollar, the freedom of not needing a car can be the first quiet pull toward the city. And it compounds fast. No car means no way to reach a job, a class, or a night out, so a broken down vehicle can quietly trap a young person in place or push them out entirely. In a rural town, your whole life hangs on 4 tires and a full tank. Number 11. The internet is too slow to build a modern life. When a young person imagines their future today, it runs on fast internet. And in too many small South Carolina towns, that simply doesn't exist. Here's the reason. For years, high-speed internet stopped at the edge of the cities, leaving rural towns with slow, spotty service that makes remote work, online business, streaming, gaming, and even basic video calls a frustrating ordeal. That's the teaser I promised you. The slow connection that quietly makes a modern life impossible. For a generation that expects to work, shop, learn, and socialize online, being stuck with bad internet isn't a minor annoyance. It's a wall. Why stay somewhere you can't even do your job remotely? But here's the first sign of hope on this list, and it's a big one. South Carolina and the federal government are pouring serious money into rural broadband right now, and as that fast internet finally arrives, it removes one of the single biggest reasons young people felt they had to leave. Fix the internet, and suddenly you can have the city salary and the country life at the same time. Number 10. There's nowhere for a young person to actually rent. When a 23-year-old wants to move out on their own, small-town South Carolina often has nothing to offer them. Here's the reason. Rural housing tends to be built for families, larger homes to buy, not the apartments, lofts, and starter rentals that a young single person or a young couple actually needs. In one South Carolina college town, leaders admitted they couldn't even keep their own graduates around because there simply weren't enough affordable rentals in safe neighborhoods for students to stay after graduation. Think about that. A town educates its young people, then has literally nowhere for them to live as adults. So they go where the apartments are, which means the city. This one is quietly devastating because it takes young people who might genuinely want to stay and gives them no physical place to do it. The towns fighting back are the ones converting old downtown buildings into loft apartments, finally giving young people a first home that isn't a 4-bedroom house or their parents' basement. It's one of the smartest, most concrete fixes on this whole list, because a young person with an affordable place of their own has a reason to plant roots. Give them a first apartment, and you give them a first chapter in the town instead of the city. Number 9. Everyone knows your business. When you're young and still figuring out who you are, this one wears on you. Here's the reason. In a small town, there is no anonymity. Everyone knows your family, your history, your business, and every mistake you've ever made. And that fishbowl can feel suffocating to a young person trying to reinvent themselves or simply live their own life. The city offers something a small town never can: the freedom to be whoever you want, with no one watching, no reputation to escape, no whispers following you down Main Street. For a lot of young people, especially anyone who feels a little different from the crowd, that anonymity isn't just appealing, it's liberating. The very closeness that older residents treasure about small-town life is exactly what can drive a young person away. There's real warmth in a town where everybody knows your name. But at 22, sometimes you desperately want to go somewhere nobody does. It's a paradox that older residents often struggle to understand. The tight-knit closeness they see as the town's greatest gift can feel, to a young person, like a spotlight they can't switch off. The city offers a clean slate, and to someone still becoming who they are, a clean slate is worth a lot. Number 8. The dating pool is basically your graduating class. When a young person thinks about building a life, they're also thinking about finding a partner, and in a small town, the math is brutal. Here's the reason. In a small rural town, the pool of other single young people is tiny, often limited to the same handful of people you've known since kindergarten, which makes meeting someone new nearly impossible. As more young people leave, that pool shrinks even further, creating a vicious cycle where the ones who remain have even less reason to stay. The city, by contrast, is full of new people your own age, from everywhere, all the time. For a single young person, that's a powerful, deeply human pull that no amount of small-town charm can compete with. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but it's one of the most honest reasons young people give. They left to find their people, and eventually, to find their person. You can't build a family in a town where you can't even find a date. And this reason is uniquely self-reinforcing. Every young person who leaves shrinks the dating pool for everyone who stays, which gives the next person one more reason to go. It's the quiet arithmetic of the heart, and it drains small towns of their young faster than almost anything else. Number 7. There is genuinely nothing to do. When you ask young people who left what finally pushed them out, this is the answer you hear most. Here's the reason. In many small South Carolina towns, there's simply no entertainment, no movie theater, no music venues, no nightlife, few restaurants, little to do on a Friday night but drive around. In one South Carolina county, college students flat out said there's nothing to do in this county, and that boredom made staying after graduation feel unthinkable. That's the teaser I promised you. For a young person hungry for experiences, energy, and fun, a quiet town can feel less like peace and more like a slow death by boredom. The city pulses with concerts, restaurants, bars, festivals, and things happening every single night. That contrast is stark, and it's one young people feel intensely. The towns fighting back understand this, and they're investing in downtown life, breweries, festivals, and gathering spaces. Because a town with nothing to do is a town young people drive away from, straight toward the lights of the city. If you're learning things about South Carolina you never expected, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people just like you. Number 6. Everyone looks and thinks the same. When a young person craves a bigger world, a homogeneous town can feel like a cage. Here's the reason. Many small rural towns have little diversity of background, of culture, of thought, and for a curious young person eager to meet different kinds of people and encounter new ideas, that sameness can feel stifling. Cities offer a rich mix of cultures, cuisines, viewpoints, and lifestyles that a small town simply cannot match. And for a generation that deeply values variety and openness, that's a genuine draw. It's not that young people dislike where they came from, it's that they want to experience more of the world than one small town can hold. They want the food, the music, the festivals, the friends from everywhere. A small town gives you deep roots, and that matters enormously. But many young people, at least for a while, want wide horizons more than deep roots, and the city promises exactly that. The irony is that plenty of them, once they've tasted that wider world, eventually crave the roots again and think about coming home. But in their 20s, the pull is almost always outward, toward the biggest, most varied world they can find. You can't blame a young person for wanting to see what else is out there. Number 5. If you want a degree, you have to leave to get it. When a young person decides to better themselves, the small town often forces them out the door. Here's the reason. Most colleges and universities are located in the cities, in Columbia, Charleston, Greenville, Clemson, so a rural student who wants a degree almost always has to physically leave their hometown to get one. And here's the trap. Once a young person moves away for college, builds a new life, makes new friends, and lands a job near campus, the odds of them ever moving back home drop dramatically. The town invests 18 years raising a bright kid, and then the very pursuit of education pulls them away, often permanently. It's one of the cruelest dynamics in the whole story because it punishes ambition. The places fighting back are partnering with community colleges and universities to offer local classes, satellite campuses, and online degrees, trying to make it possible to get educated without having to leave, so the town doesn't lose its brightest the moment they finish high school. And there's a hopeful twist here. The young people who leave for the military or college and then come back are often a town's greatest asset, returning with skills, degrees, and experience that can lift the whole community. The trick is simply giving them a reason and a way to return. Number 4. The only jobs are low wage, with no ladder to climb. When a young person looks at the actual job listings back home, this is where the dream dies. Here's the reason. In many small South Carolina towns, the available work is concentrated in low-wage jobs, retail, warehousing, fast food, seasonal labor, with few professional careers and almost no ladder to climb toward a higher salary or a bigger role. A young person can see their entire financial future capped before it starts, and no matter how hard they work, there's simply no path upward without leaving. Compare that to a city, where the jobs are plentiful, the salaries are higher, and there's a real chance to build a career, and the choice makes itself. This is the economic engine underneath so many of the other reasons. A town can be beautiful, safe, and affordable, but if a young person can't earn a real living or grow a real career there, none of the rest matters. Opportunity, more than anything, is what the city sells, and the small town struggles to offer. And it's worth being honest. This is slowly shifting, as some rural areas see growth in higher-wage healthcare and professional jobs, and as advanced manufacturing brings real careers back to smaller communities. But for now, in most small South Carolina towns, an ambitious young person still sees a ceiling where they wanted a ladder, and a ceiling is a very good reason to walk out the door. Number 3. All your friends already left. And number 3 is the one that hits the hardest because it's not about jobs or money, it's about loneliness. When you talk to the young people who stayed, this is the ache in their voice. Here's the reason. Once the exodus starts, it snowballs, and eventually a young person looks around and realizes that nearly every friend they grew up with is already gone. Off to the city, off to school, off to a bigger life somewhere else. That's the teaser I promised you. The moment you realize everyone you grew up with has left, suddenly the hometown that once felt full of your people feels empty, and the pull to follow your friends, to be where the life and the energy are, becomes almost irresistible. Nobody wants to be the last one standing in a town that used to be full. This is why brain drain accelerates so fast. Every young person who leaves makes it a little lonelier and a little more likely for the next one to leave too. In the end, a lot of young people don't leave for a job at all. They leave to be where their friends are. Number 2, the town quietly teaches you that staying means failing. And number 2 is the one you'd never expect, because it's not something anyone says out loud, it's something a town teaches without meaning to. When you dig into why young people really leave, you find this hidden belief underneath it all. Here's the reason. In a lot of struggling small towns, there's an unspoken message passed down to the brightest kids. If you're smart, if you're ambitious, if you're going to make something of yourself, you have to leave, because staying is what people who couldn't make it do. That's the teaser I promised you. A town that teaches its best kids that success lives somewhere else. Sometimes it comes from well-meaning parents and teachers pushing their star students toward the big city. Sometimes it comes from a defeated mood among the adults, a sense that the town is slowly dying and there's no future in it. Either way, the young person absorbs the lesson that staying equals failing and leaving equals winning. That mindset may be the single most powerful and least visible force in this entire video. And it's also the one thing a town can change for free by deciding, out loud, that its future is worth staying for. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about the real story behind these towns. So do yourself a favor and hit that like button, then let's get to number 1. Number 1. There's no future here in what you actually dream of doing. And the number 1 reason, the one that ties every other reason together, is the simplest and the most decisive. A young person looks at the life they want to build, and they cannot build it here. When you talk to young people who left small-town South Carolina, this is what it always comes back to. Here's the reason. Whatever a young person dreams of becoming, a software engineer, a designer, a nurse practitioner, a filmmaker, an entrepreneur in a modern industry, the opportunities, the mentors, the companies, and the community of people doing that same work are almost always clustered in the cities. A small town might have a few good jobs, but it rarely has a future in the specific field a young person spent years training and dreaming for. And so the choice becomes brutally clear. Stay in a place you love and give up on your dream, or chase your dream and give up on your hometown. Faced with that, most ambitious young people choose the dream. Every single reason we've counted down feeds into this one. No jobs, no ladder, no college, no fast internet, no peers, no future. They all add up to a young person concluding there is simply no room here to become who they want to be. But here's why I saved it for number 1, and why this story does not have to end in defeat. Because that equation is finally starting to change. Remote work means a young software engineer or designer can now live in a small South Carolina town and work for a company anywhere in the world, keeping the city salary and the country quiet at the same time. New industries, including the wave of advanced manufacturing sweeping across the Southeast, are bringing real careers to smaller communities. And there's a growing movement of young people, having spent a few years in the city, choosing to come back home, to raise their kids near grandparents, to buy a house they can actually afford, to build something in the place that built them. The tools to reverse the exodus finally exist. What's missing in most towns is just the fast internet, the starter housing, and the belief that staying can be a form of winning too. So line all 12 of these up and the truth becomes clear. Young people don't leave small-town South Carolina because they hate it. Most of them leave with a genuine ache, missing the quiet, the community, and the people they grew up with. They leave because, one reason at a time, the place they love slowly convinces them there's no room for the future they want. But every one of those reasons has a fix, and towns across the state are starting to find them. The loft downtown, the fast internet, the remote job, the reason to stay. The young people will come back to the towns that give them something to come back to, and the towns wise enough to build it may just get their future back. So if this video helped you understand the young people leaving South Carolina's small towns, or if it's your story, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment telling me what would make you stay or come back home. I read every single one. And if this video hits 15,000 likes, I'll do a part 2 on the South Carolina towns actually winning their young people back. I'll see you in the next.